Good morning, everybody. Hope it's off to a good start. Everything's off to a good start at your place this morning. Some of you may have seen my post earlier that we've caught a swarm of honeybees after a few tries, and some of you may not know my background, that actually when I lived in Florida, I did a lot of beekeeping, even did bee removals. In fact, every colony I had was either from a swarm I had captured or a colony that I had removed from somebody's house. Well, I want to show you my new beehive. I just built one, and I don't think I've ever shown this before and really explained it, but this is the beehive that I've made. This is what I use. I know you're probably thinking it looks very different than any beehives you've ever seen before that are basically stacked boxes. This is called a Kenya top bar hive, and I guess obviously is done in Kenya. It has basically a trapezoid shape on the inside with a lid on it. I'll go ahead and open it up here so you can see. Pardon the camera angles. Okay, as you can see here, basically what we've got here is just these little bars of wood here, and it's all sealed up. So instead of like on the Langstroth hive, which is what you're typically used to seeing, which is basically a rectangular frame with foundation on it, this is basically just going to be a piece of wood. And the bees actually just draw the comb off the piece of wood and it just hangs down. Now, what I do here to help them keep it straight is I do actually use a little bit of foundation. I cut it about 3/4 of an inch thick and then wedged it into a mortise that I cut. And that'll help help the bees keep it straight. But they just hang it down. And there are some disadvantages to the top bar hive. One of them is if you don't use a piece of foundation or something to guide them, they can cross comb it, which basically means they might start the comb here and run it across. I actually had a colony one time who literally did their first 6 combs just like this, all of them across the first 6 bars. I basically had to trash the comb and make them start over. The good news is once they did start over, they did it straight and everything was fine. The other disadvantage is that you won't get as much honey out of this because every time you can't use an extractor to sling the honey out and then reuse the comb. So they're going to have to draw a new honeycomb every single time. For me, that's not a problem because I'm going to use the comb. I use wax for other things like making furniture polish. I've made lotions with it and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things you can use the wax for as well. The advantages about it are, and I'll show you this one here, is because they're drawing the comb separately, because they're drawing the comb out just off of the bar, they can draw it in any shape they want to. Now, over here you can see the trapezoid shape of the bar of the hive. Sometimes they will literally build that comb exactly to that shape. And then they'll come along the next one and they might draw it like this and then come back up and then do it like this again. For whatever reason, that's the way they want to do it, they'll do it that way. And whereas with the Langstroth rectangular bars, they pretty much it's pretty much dictated how they have to do it. Another advantage of the top bar hives is a lot of people don't realize this, but not all honeybees are exactly the same size. Certain varieties are larger than other ones and some are smaller. And with the pre-embossed foundation that people use, I'm not getting myself in here. Well, you don't want to look at me anyway. With the pre-embossed foundation, it pretty much dictates how large each individual cell has to be. Now, one of the things you won't have as much problem, that I've never had as much problem with rather, with this hive that other people have had, is I haven't had hardly any problems at all with varroa mites. And one of the reasons for that is because if everything being correct, every time a bee crawls into the cell to feed the little larvae that's in there, they'll usually just rub the varroa mites off. And being that this is a screen bottom here, usually what will happen is the varroa mite gets scraped off the bee and just drops out the bottom onto the ground. If there's a closed bottom, they don't. On the frame, the Langstroth frames, usually the varroa mite will just drop off and land on the bottom of the frame and then climb onto another bee again. So this one here, that helps for that. The other thing is like in some of those colonies where the bees are smaller than the pre-embossed frame would give them a template to draw the comb out, the actual cells are a little too big, so every time they reach down inside, it doesn't rub the mites off. So that's another advantage of the top bar hive. Also another thing is, as you can see by the way the bars are, that when I open the hive to examine them, I'm really not opening up the whole hive, whereas with the Langstroth, all of the bars have a space between them. So once you take the lid off, the whole hive is open. One of the things about examining hives is you want to disturb them as little as possible. Now I want to show you the last thing I have here, because this is a 42-inch beehive here. Most of the plans that I've ever seen, they will make they call for making them 17 inches across and about 36 inches deep. I make my bars 19 inches across, 42 inches deep on the inside. Now, the thing about that is, I've actually had hives that built almost all the way back. And if I had gone with a 36 by 17, they would have outgrown it. So I've never had a hive completely build all the way back. And that includes the combs that are exclusively honey. The other thing about doing the 19-inch ones is that with a 19-inch bar, if I wanted to put them into a Langstroth hive, or if I wanted to give some bees away and let them start one, you can actually just drop these combs right into a Langstroth hive. Might be a little bit dodgy. It's a little bit deeper than a deep. You might have to cut just a little bit of comb off of the bottom. Not a big deal. But you could actually start a Langstroth colony with this just simply by taking a few bars and putting them in. Now over here, I wonder if I can flip this thing. Okay, over here. You see over back there, that's a bait hive. It's exactly in the same shape as the inside shape, the trapezoid shape, as the actual hive is. And that will enable me to be able to take these bees, just pull the bars out and add them in, and just put them in, so we really won't hardly disturb them at all. There is actually a colony in there. You can't really see much from here, but they're actually pretty active, and from what I can see, they look like they're a pretty good sized colony. I'm going to keep the camera flipped this way. So there's one more thing I want to show you. Now, some designs of the top bar hives show the openings being in the middle on the side. I don't really like doing that, so I actually do it right from the front. Now, when I actually install the bees, obviously this colony is only 6 bars deep right now. So I'm going to actually cover 2 of the outside holes and just let them have the one hole right here in the middle. And I'm going to put a queen excluder over the front of it, so that way it kind of gives a little bit more of insurance that they won't leave, because the queen won't be able to get out of there. But every time I've done this before, I've never had any problems with it, because like I said, we disturb the hive very, very little. I will actually place this hive directly behind where the box is right now, so that way when the foragers come back, they don't have to try to figure out where their colony went. And literally, bees are so sensitive to that if you move it over 2 feet, that can totally throw them off. But they won't. It's going to be right behind them. They're going to fly right straight in and land right in there. Of course, they'll smell the queen pheromones. They'll know they're in their right home. So anyway, I hope that was interesting. Like I said, I realized I've never really shown anybody what I do. I guess one of the things about this is, obviously you can see this is fairly nice. You can build these things out of scraps. It just really doesn't take much. And I think that was kind of the appeal in certain areas where maybe standard beekeeping equipment isn't as easy to get a hold of, that you can pretty much just find any pieces of wood and put them together, and voila, you've got yourself a hive. So tomorrow, if the weather's good, we're going to go ahead and try and install them, and hopefully I'll be able to get some pictures or maybe even a video of that too. In the meantime, have a great weekend.